There we go.
All right. That took a little bit longer than expected. So those of you that do not follow us or are new to our show, sometimes it takes a little bit for our service that we use to catch up when we press start. So we sit there looking like fools for, a couple seconds. Anyway, my name is J.E. Jack, and I write urban fantasy and horror and paranormal thrillers.
I'm Jennifer Carr, and I write clean contemporary romance and Christian romance as well.
And unfortunately, our third counterpart could not make it tonight. He had some things come up, and that's okay. So tonight we are going to talk about ourselves.
Because what better topic is there?
Yeah. We created this show just so we could talk about it. No, I'm kidding.
Pretty much.
But we did talk. We did create it to hopefully, share the wealth of the things that we're learning, because Lord knows we don't know everything. But as we learn, we try to share it with others. And let's see, where is this not showing? The author's page.
Of course, we're not streaming everywhere.
Okay, yeah. So as you know, if you follow, actually, I don't think it's sharing to our page, but it is to the page, but not the profile. So that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Got it.
All right. So this is the Author's Dilemma show. It is Thursday night. I kind of forgot that when we started.
Oh yeah.
So welcome back to the show, and we appreciate you spending your time with us. If you have any questions this evening, be sure to pop it in the comments, and we will try to answer to the best of our ability, because again, we don't know everything, although we can pretend.
Absolutely. We're authors. That's what we do best.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's correct.
It is. It absolutely is. All right. Well, what are you doing in your business these days?
Oh, man, you beat me to it.
I did, because you've got more exciting updates than I do.
No. Actually, we both have exciting news. So we haven't done this for a while because we've been fortunate enough to have some awesome guests the past few weeks. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in our business. So tonight, I guess I'll go first, since you beat me to the question. So I'm really excited. I have my first urban fantasy is coming out. I'm hoping to have it out by Halloween. Hopefully,
Ooh.
Probably not. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully next week, because I'd like to have it out before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an urban fantasy about a detective who happens to be a werewolf. So it's, it makes sense. Now, it's not a horror. It's not like in your face, but it was really exciting for those of you that have followed me on my Facebook page. I hired a graphic designer. Now, I was really torn because, there's that whole AI controversy between, using AI for your covers versus hiring a graphic designer or a book artist. And now when it comes to Photoshop and when it comes to, I've been a photographer for 30 years. And so Photoshop is not unknown to me. I know how to use it. Now, when it comes to illustrations and other things, I don't. So I put together an AI. The AI was based, but at the same time, I just didn't feel quite right about it. So I hired even though I put it on my Facebook and a lot of people are like, just go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
And I'm really appreciative of it. But at the same time, it just, and that's the thing. You got to do what you feel what is congruent to you. If you do something and you have like a little bit of doubt about that, and I'm not talking about imposter syndrome. I'm talking about if you know that that's always going to bother you, don't do it, because that's always like, if people ask you about it, that's always going to be in the back of your mind. You're always going to feel like, well, this is what really happened, So
right.
So I went ahead and hired a new graphic book cover artist company, and I'm really excited about it because I think they did a fantastic job. And so I finally got the final version today, and now I just need to update the book, and I will I'm pretty sure I'll have that out probably next week, which totally goes against what we've told you before about like Jen has this planned. Me, as soon as it's ready to go, it's out the door. It's like, it's kind of like the paratroopers: hook up, jump up, shovel to the front, and jump out.
And that's okay. Whatever works for you. I mean,
no, it's true, and that's how we do things differently. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about this one because I think the couple people that have read it, they said it's. And here again, obviously, they're probably biased because they know me. Oh, actually, no, one of them doesn't know me, but they provided some really good feedback, and I think That's the exciting thing, Jen. And as you know, every time you put out a new book, it's always like, maybe this is the one. You never know.
Yeah. All it takes is one person.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so what's going on in your world? That's basically mine in a nutshell. Now you.
Well, first question, did you go blue or green with your cover? Which one did you choose?
Well, that was tough. Okay, so for those of you that don't follow me, I had two covers that the artist sent back to me. And one was green, and it had a huge wolf on it, like a werewolf behind the character. And it was kind of greenish. It had a tint to it. And then on the other one, it was more subdued.
Me too.
It was more subdued. And there was just a hint of a wolf, like in the shadows in the background. Justin, who follows me, he says, I voted green.
It was a lot of people vote.
It was a good vote. And it was really hard because both of them were really, there was aspects about them that I liked, about both versions that I really liked. But I went with the blue only because, well, actually, the percentage of people that really was intriguing, that was intrigued by it, because it had more of a mysterious feel to it. Whereas the green one was in your face. And if I was writing horror, I think I would have went with that one because the werewolf that was on that one was just a little bit in your face.
Yeah.
But I went back to the artist. And I'm like, hey, can you take some, because of the figure in the green, you could kind of see his face a little bit. And so I asked to, put a little bit of his face into the blue one. So not where you can totally see it, but kind of just an outline. And it looks a lot better. So.
Okay, well, I mean,
sorry. I went blue. All right.
Well, but at the same time, I think there were components of both covers that I think they went well together. You had this and you had that. I think combining some of those were good. I really did like the werewolf on the green one though. Like he was tough and he was kind of brash, and so I kind of, it's fine. You can make wrong choices. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, it's funny. One of my readers reached out and she's like, "Well, if this was romance, this would have been perfect."
That's what I was thinking, and maybe that's why I was so drawn to it. I was like, "That's a sexy werewolf, right? Like that's what he was," and so that's
right.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe
so. And I'm like, well, but this is a mystery, so it's not really supposed to be in your face. It's not supposed to be like
Yeah.
But,
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, you can use him some other time. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, book 2, which I'm.
There you go. Which we're going to talk about. Writing a second book later.
That's
so
right.
That's nice.
So,
we can talk about that.
That's right. But first, what's going on in your world, Jen?
Well, let's see. It is October 17th.
October 17th.
Isn't that crazy?
I know,
it's October 17th. This month has gone by. So my book came out October 1st. It has been such a weird roller coaster this go around. And I'm not sure why. It's book 2 of the series. And I started early with my marketing. Like I had this whole marketing plan and I started early with it. But not like so early that I think there was fatigue involved. I don't know. It's been interesting to see it. It was a slower pickup, and I don't know if it's the time of year. Maybe it's the time of year. I'd have to check on that. But things picked up more this week than they did 2 weeks ago. But I've also been doing some more direct like interaction with readers and that kind of thing. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But that happened.
So tell me, like, how did you do that? How did you start interacting more directly with your readers?
So one of my favorite things I didn't know it was still a thing. I didn't know people were still doing like Facebook group takeovers. And what that means is that somebody who has a Facebook group, a relatively large Facebook group, like they are the admin, creator of the group, whatever, they allow, in this case, authors who are of a specific genre, clean romance, to come in and take over for a day, which means that I did all the posting, I did all of this, I did a giveaway at the end. Yeah, and it was really fun because, after every post that I posted about the book or a character or whatever, I would, you got an entry for every time you interacted. And so they were, and then I interacted back. And so there was a back and forth in some of them. And it was some innocuous stuff like, this is the occupation of this character. What did you want to be when you grew up, or something like that? And so, there were conversations being had that were fun, and just, that was hundreds and hundreds of readers like interacting and playing along. And that's when I started to see numbers pick up, because they were, I felt like it was more a personal connection than just, another author out there. And so that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that.
And that's true, and that's something that we should probably touch on is for those of you that are new to selling anything, it's always better to have a relationship
Yeah.
with your buyers,
Yeah.
because people know when it's a transactional,
Yeah.
a transactional versus a relationship interaction is completely different. Like if I came up to you and say, "Hey, read my book," well, you know exactly what's
Yes.
on my mind. But if I engage with you and we have a conversation and it comes up that I write, and but the whole Facebook thing, that's interesting, and that's another thing, asking open-ended questions, because that's
Yeah.
what gets people talking.
Oh, for sure. And anybody will do anything for a giveaway, just about, depending, especially if there's a free book involved and it's for readers or whatever. So, there were things like that. So that was fun. And then the other thing that happened this week, actually yesterday, is that I finished writing book 5 of that series, which should be, in
Wow.
my opinion, the last book of that series, unless there's been a couple of characters who've been like, "Hey, what about us?" And I'm like, "Shut up." But they would be
I
more of a
killed you
novella,
off,
right?
and now you're back.
Duct tape, like, we're done here.
It's amazing.
But they're more
death.
like, they're like more side characters, and so they would be more like a novella if I did something, or a reader magnet or something like that. Because there's a story that has popped into my head a couple times, but I'm not sure. But anyway, that series is wrapped as far as my writing, and so that's exciting. And I messaged my editor yesterday and I said, what do you think the chances are for book 3 we could just skip the beta reader phase? Because I feel really good about it. Like, there are no plot holes in my mind. Like, the developmental part is kind of done. And she was like, I think we can skip the beta reader developmental phase and go straight to copy line edits, which means book 3 will come out a little bit sooner than planned. So yay, that's exciting as well.
So since you're the planner, when do you expect to have that one out?
Well, originally it was going to be published in May of next year, right? Because I'm like on an every 6-month rotation kind of thing. But it's looking more like probably April or March, just moving that up a little bit in the timeline. It would never be over the holidays. I could never make it happen over the holidays. But yeah, not long after the new year is the hope. So we'll see.
Man, that's fantastic.
That's exciting.
So after so you're done with book 5.
Yeah,
And you think it's done for the series?
I think.
You think?
Pretty sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know.
But I've already started the next series, which is kind of interconnected with the first series, but not, which is a whole different conversation we can have later.
Well, I'm actually kind of interested in that. Like, okay, how much did you pivot from, what your first series is to what your second series will be?
Okay, well, when we talk about writing series versus standalone in just a minute, then we can get to that.
We'll get to that. All right. But first, let's talk about the news.
Woo!
What's going on in the world of writing this week? Jen always has the good stuff.
Oh my goodness. And this one, I'm going to preface it by saying I'm not a Swiftie. I'm sorry. Don't come for me. I'm just not.
Let me drink tea.
You just go ahead and sip along. It's fine. I think I've never, but even from the beginning, I don't even think it was when she switched from country to pop like that. I just never cared for her existence. I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. But she is a very savvy businesswoman. I will give her that. She is a billionaire, right? So why this matters, she has decided that she's going to self-publish, and I'm using that term very loosely, it's in quotes for those who can't see, self-publish a book about her Eras tour and all of that. And it's like an exclusive deal with Target. Well, that's not exactly how self-publishing works. And so when I started reading about, what was going to happen with her book that she is self-publishing, she's created her own imprint basically. And she is, her own publisher, and she is publishing with Target kind of thing. Like, and it's an exclusive deal. So everybody who thinks, oh, Taylor Swift can self-publish, and do you understand the team she has behind her and the marketing and the business savvy that's
she
already
created a publishing company to publish her book?
Exactly. She's a machine.
Which is what we're trying to do.
But we don't have billions behind us or a team of editors or a team of photographers and all that. We don't have that. And most, I would say 99.999%, that indie authors don't have that behind them. So
Ken B 2000 has an interesting thought.
Welcome back, Ken B.
Yes, we appreciate you spending your time with us this evening, and we appreciate you interacting. They say someone probably ghostwrote it for her anyway.
It's possible.
We don't know.
Right. Well, and most of it is more like a documentary style, whatever that is called, because it's a lot of pictures from the tour and back behind the
Oh,
scenes kind of things and stuff like that. So
so-
to say that Taylor Swift is publishing a book, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm with you. If she did write anything, it went through a whole host of people that
yeah.
made it a little
It's like
different.
a day in the life of a day in life probably. No hate.
Yeah, something like that, just and that's fine. Do you, if that's what
Yeah.
you want to do, hire a ghostwriter. That's
Obviously,
fine.
she's pretty successful with whatever she does.
Exactly.
All right. So they follow. Kimby follows up with no hate though. Might be partly her writing at least. Well,
It might be. Yeah.
let's hope.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I probably won't read it, so I don't know.
It's like a $40 book. I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's like a coffee table book. That's what I'm thinking. A big heavy duty book. So I won't be in line for it, but
Yeah, I mean, she's talented, but she's not my cup of tea. So I don't know.
nope. More power to her.
Yeah,
Good for her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So,
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting, but there's a lot to unpack there, and I wonder if it's like I hope it doesn't come to one of those things where it's like becomes the buzzword now. Oh, I did this.
Self-published.
Yeah, I self-published because now that's the new cool, right? Like I remember when I was growing up, I was the original nerd or the geek, and it wasn't fun. But now it's cool to be that, and now it's like, I don't know.
Exactly. Oh, look,
Right.
It's my bestie Kirsten. Hey, babe.
Says, hey, hello.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I hope it's not one of those like we don't see a trend of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like I don't know how to put it. Like I just don't want it to be. I don't want to take. Because we put our heart and soul into this, and it's like, it's tough. And then when someone comes along and says, "I did the same thing,"
Yeah.
Well, not really.
And I made millions from it, and it's like, you know what? You didn't. I mean, I'm not going to discount her work. I'm sure she works her butt off at those concerts and all that. But
you're absolutely right.
She's get out of my world. You're not a writer. Like you're a singer.
unless she, unless she goes full board and that's what she did. Anyway.
But don't let that's my takeaway from that is don't let hearing that someone famous is self-publishing their book when they are taking a roundabout shortcut kind of thing. Like they're going a totally different path than what actual self-publishing is. So don't let that discourage you.
Yeah. And then in some ways, I mean, since it is her own publishing company, I mean, she's probably going to get a lot better royalties out of it.
Yes. And it's exclusive with a very large store, that is so.
Yeah.
That's not how it normally works for a self-published author.
All right. So your bestie says, how are you guys doing? Well, we're doing
pretty good. I mean, we're missing a leg. Our third leg is not here.
Yeah,
like Hiram's not with us tonight, but
we're wobbling.
We're making it through. And we're actually about to talk about writing a series. And I think Kirsten's a big fan of a certain series that she knows the author who wrote it. And
hey, so let's segue into that.
Yeah.
All right. So last week we talked about, hey, we're going to talk about point of view this week. And today we're like, no, we're not going to do that. And, sorry for those of
Hiram topic. Like he's really good at those technical topics. And like, that's something that he would know. So
that's right. So we decided to change it up and we wanted to talk about writing a standalone versus a series and how they're similar and how they're different.
Yeah.
And I like the eyes. Kirsten comes up with a certain series, so she's definitely in on the joke.
She knows. She knows too much.
Up until now, I've written standalones, and this is my first book that's coming out soon. Is my first in a series that I plan to write. I don't know how many books that's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm hoping at least 3 because that seems like the holy thing to do. Or it might be more. I don't know. But it's definitely different. And what are your thoughts on writing series? Because that's what you do.
It is what I do. And it's funny because I didn't set out to write a series either time. And technically the first one is 2 books and there's a 1.5 that I've been working on. It's a slow go because I'm so far separated from that world, which is something you have to take into account when you plan to write a series. With the Real American Country series, the first one was going to be a standalone. I had no intention of drawing it out to what's now 5 books. But what happened was there was enough there. I
Mhm.
had enough characters because when you're talking, you've got 12 contestants in a reality TV show. There's plenty of potential there. I just didn't know what the stories were going to be to go with them. And
Right.
I don't like when a series that I'm reading as a reader, I don't like when a series is repetitive.
Mm.
Just same story, change the names. I can't
Right.
stand that. It drives me nuts. And so I was like, I don't know if I've got that. And the next thing you know, I had it. And so it's a preference for me. I think writing a series is fun
Mhm.
because you're in one place for a long time and you're not going, well, what's the next story? No, it's already there. You just make sure you leave that door open to get through it, I think.
I think with me, I've always been a dabbler with a lot of different things. Like, and I think it might have something to do with being in the military. You're only here for a little bit, and then you go somewhere else,
Yeah.
and you try something new, and then you
Yeah.
learn this, and then, because for me, like when I write a book or when I write standalones, it's nice because you write one and you're done.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about overarching story arcs.
Sure.
You forget people's names. I mean, that
That's
happens in one
true.
book. That happens in one book. I mean,
That's
much less if
true.
you try to do it over a series. And so, and then another thing is if it totally bombs, okay, I'll just write another book. I mean, like if it doesn't go as well as you expect
That's
okay,
fair.
I'll just move on and write another book about something else completely different. Whereas I'm finding with writing the second book for the one that's coming up, like I really feel good about the first one, and now I'm really stressed out about the second one. And I haven't even got into it. It's like I haven't even really started. I've written like a chapter and a half, and in the way I write, I pants, so I don't know what's going to happen, and that's
Right.
which I need to kind of go back and kind of rethink that. And I think if I kind of did what Hiram was talking about, where you kind of
Hmm.
plots and plants and whatever,
Yeah.
maybe that might change things. But it's tough because you live up to these expectations, and heaven forbid, I mean, if book 2 or 3 bombs, well, then it ruins your whole series.
It might, but at the same time, so with Real American Country, book
Right.
one and book two and book three and book four and book five. Five completely different stories, right?
Hmm.
Five completely different tropes, five completely different sets of people. And so where book one may really draw somebody in, they may not like romantic suspense, and therefore book three is not going to be their cup of tea.
Hmm.
So, you have enough books in a series, they'll still read it because there might be something they miss. They may skim it, but they'll still probably pick it up.
So are your characters? So you're not following the same characters through the whole series. You're jumping from.
You
I mean,
see
they,
them
they might they
all.
might be in there, but they're not. But it's not the
Yeah.
point of view, right?
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So, like, book one was Rachel and Jordan. They had a totally separate backstory
Hmm.
from book two, Nash and Cassidy, who have a totally different. But you see Jordan in the background of book two. And then in book three, you see Jordan, Nash, Cassidy, and
Oh, that's
Wyatt.
cool.
Like that, you see them all from, and
Yeah.
it's told from everybody's different perspectives. And so in book three, you're not going to see the same things happening because different
Right.
characters are doing different things in the same place. And
Well,
so,
that's
yeah,
kind of neat because that really fleshes out the setting,
yeah,
and that really kind of fleshes out like whatever because that's interesting because now you can see a period of time from multiple points of view.
yep,
That's interesting. I never thought of it like that, but
yeah.
even that's completely different than writing a series following one person.
Possibly, but you've got a character who is a detective,
Right.
and there are mysteries and murders
All
and
the
weird
time.
things to solve all the time, and they can come with different characters. Then you start bringing in other characters, and
Right.
that changes the main character's dynamic
Yeah.
with other characters, and the setting could even change a little for that matter. You
So
know,
so over the course of all those books, how do you remember key points?
okay, I was kind of reaching over here trying to organize a minute ago, and when I say organize, it's a very loose term because I am a pantser in so many ways.
Hmm.
But there were points after book one when I started writing book two. I thought, oh crap, they're all in the same place in the same competition. Therefore, things have to happen on the same timeline, and so I have timelines
Oh,
for every book, and I go back, and they're not digital. They're all handwritten because I write them down when I'm thinking about them. And like
yeah.
even my fake reality TV show has a schedule. Um,
That's
my
awesome.
my fake reality TV tour, like the American Idol tour, only it's Real American Country Tour, has a schedule. I know what city they're in on what day during those months. It's ridiculous, but like they have to be all on the same page. And so I just wrote it out.
Wow.
I know.
I mean, when it comes to pantsing, that's like, that's.
It's not, but it has to be that way. If you are going to write a series.
That's part of your research.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not even like, I wouldn't even consider that right. Well, I mean, it is writing, but it's more or less setting things up.
Yeah. It's not an outline. Right. Yeah. It's not an outline and that kind of thing. Whereas, with your series, when you start writing that, you don't have to necessarily, unless the murder overlaps or the mystery overlaps into the next book, like you don't have to keep up with a timeline too much, because that could all happen. There could be 3 murders being investigated in one day, probably, and whatever. So depending on the storyline you're going for, you don't have to.
Yeah. Kendi says, that's awesome, Jen. That must make the writing process fun.
Do you know, it really is. I planned an entire country music tour. Like, I was like, let's do this. It'll be great.
And they follow on with, it's like being back in school doing a fun project.
I lived for those kind of projects. As long as it was not a team project, I lived for that.
Yeah, it's like, never mind. I was going to make a comment about socialism, but that's a
different podcast.
Different podcast.
Exactly.
Oh no, but it's true. Like, because like when it came to group projects, and you're the one that's working and no one else did, you're just like, why did we all get the same grade?
Yes. But, yeah. But I was also that person I was going to be in charge of it, and we were going to do it this way because it was going to get done, and
right.
So
otherwise it wouldn't. So no, well, that's interesting. And then also the gosh, I got to get better about writing stuff down, because I had a great idea and I didn't write it down and I forgot. And honestly, just watching you.
If only we had portable ways to do that.
Well, you say that, but when life gets in the way and meetings and people, and it's like, and then, but no, it's funny because I totally forgot about that thought that I had until you showed me that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's of course I can't remember what it was. I just know that I had it. So
we're halfway there.
Yeah. So after the show tonight, I'm going to be sitting here going, what was that stupid idea? But
that's fair. And you know what, though, there's nothing wrong with writing standalones either. If you can do that, there are perfectly healthy standalones out there that.
Now there is a difference, and I do need to clarify. And I've said this before: the difference between writing standalones versus Sorry, I think my dog was playing with a dog toy or something.
Do.
Yeah, well, hey. When it comes to writing standalones versus series, when you write a standalone, you are creating your brand as an author. When you're writing a series, you're creating your series as a brand for people to know.
Yeah.
And that's completely different, because we all know Stephen King, but you may not necessarily know what he writes. Yeah. You may not necessarily know one book that he's written. Whereas with Jack Reacher, who is a pretty popular action series, you may not know who the author is, and that author is Lee Childs. Yeah. But and that's just, those are two distinctions, and it's funny because I never thought about that until someone told me that. I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Yeah. And that's why it's harder to, I think it's harder to do standalones, because this book may be good for this person, but not for this person. And the second book might be good for this person, but not good for this. Yeah. And whereas when you're writing a series, if they pick up one book, they'll read them all.
Yeah. I know that's for me as a reader, that's me for sure.
Right.
With the exception of, unless it becomes repetitive, literally. If it is a plug and play, I'm out. Like, I just don't want that. My brain doesn't need that kind of numbing. Like, I want to enjoy reading and spending my time that way. I will also say that marketing a series is a lot easier than marketing a standalone. And I say that from I realize that I write series and that kind of thing, but my first book, I had no intention of writing a second book to go with it, no matter what. But then when I did, it became a little easier, but not really, because they're both, technically, they could stand alone. But marketing it a series like Real American Country, because there's that theme of country music through it, there's this theme of reality TV through it, there's a lot you can draw from, and it's a whole lot easier to talk about it that way than to be like, and this book is, and this book is.
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And
So,
and the good thing is that they like one, they'll more likely. And that's another thing when it comes to strategy when you're doing marketing, things like that. Sometimes I've heard that people will take a cut, like they will lose money on the first book
yeah.
advertising it because the read through will make up for it. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's
there's that.
That is probably very true. And that it's really funny because in the last week, both of my books, I've seen my book two started off, that's what everybody was reading because that's what I was talking about. Well, after they've read book two, they're going back to book one. And I've started to see those numbers go up. And you can do that with my books because you're not going to get too many spoilers along the way kind of thing. So,
Well, and that's the thing is like I think that's probably the coolest thing about your setting is since it's about different people in the same time frame
yeah.
roughly. You can start anywhere in the trilogy or the
Yes.
series and like just kind of follow up. That's interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I'm
It's
not
not
saying
linear
that's
where
right. And I'm not
right,
saying that's the way to do it. I'm just saying that's
right.
how it worked out for me. And
Mhm.
I love the way it went. And I'm not gonna lie, like book four, I'm going to make people mad. Like when they get to book four, I'm going to have people either refuse to read it when they find out what's in it, or they're going to be mad after they read it because it's heartbreaking. It's heart wrenching. It's not your typical happily ever after. It is what it is. But
So you wrote a literature book.
I wrote a book that has a very good story in it. And, I think it's a happy where we end up situation. But that book won't be for everybody, and that's okay. But I
Mhm.
promise you, it won't take away from any of the other books in the series if you choose not to read book four.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
All right.
just saying.
Well, we are at 30 minutes, and I
Yeah,
think we've kind of covered the topics pretty well.
yeah.
If you have any questions, we'll give you 15 seconds to pop in there.
Or comments or
Or comments or
reactions. Yeah,
whatever. We have a few watching tonight, and we appreciate, like I said, we do appreciate you spending your time with us this evening. I can't talk sometimes, but if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to send an email to the authorsdilemma@gmail.com, and we will, we'd like to see what you think.
absolutely. And also, I'm going to throw out there just a little tag for you can find all of our books on Amazon. Like
That's
that's
right.
not a problem. So if you want books to read, Amazon is where you can find them.
That's right. That's right. And now, wait, have you done an audiobook yet?
No.
Oh, you got to. You got to.
You're going to pay for it?
There's options.
Yeah.
There's options.
One of these days, we'll see.
All right. Well, everyone, man, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, if you're listening to this on a platform, be sure to subscribe, smash the like button, share it with your friends. If you got something out of it, let us know because sometimes we don't know if anybody's listening. I mean, we know people are listening, but we don't know like if you're really getting anything out of this. So feedback's good. And Kimmy says thanks. Thank you. All right,
You are so
everyone,
welcome.
take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
Bye.